morning. Today I'm having a little bit of a lazy morning, so I'm gonna do something I never have time for. I'm gonna bake for breakfast.
1, 2, 3, go!
The recipe I want to try this morning is kind of inspired by something I had when I was in Scotland a couple years ago. So my family went on a vacation to visit my sister who was studying abroad in Edinburgh, and we were all going to hop on a bus and see a little bit of the sights. And before we hopped on that bus, we stopped at this cute little cafe, or maybe it was a bakery, I don't quite remember. It had coffee and it had baked goods. But one thing they had there were these really good scones. And these scones were packed full of different berries and white chocolate, and it was probably one of the best scones I've ever had. It just had such a unique flavor that I loved. And so when I was thinking about making some scones for breakfast today, I decided I wanted to kind of try and recreate those scones. So that's what we're going to be doing. As always, my recipe, as well as all the measurements and all the steps to make this recipe, will be located in the description below. You can go check out my blog and make these scones along with me. But I'm hungry, so we're gonna get started. Disclaimer on the front end. I have never made scones before. I have made scones from the little pre-mixed packages where you just add water and stick them on a cookie sheet, but I don't really count that as like truly making scones. So if this recipe goes wonky, apologies, I'm learning. But we're gonna go ahead and get started with the dry ingredients. So I've got some flour, sugar, salt, and then I have some apple pie spice. This is not in the recipe I found, but I like adding a little bit of spice, whether it's cinnamon or like a mixed spice like this, to pretty much any baked good that I make, just because I think it adds a little bit of depth to it. So yeah, that's everything I have. We are going to mix these together in a bowl and then go from there. I have no idea how many scones this is going to make, so I couldn't end up with a mound of scones that I have to eat by myself. I'll probably just do what I end up doing with most recipes I make that are kind of too big. I just find whoever I can pawn them off to and give them to them. Most of my recipes I've done on this channel, if I have more than enough for just two people, my husband and I usually like find friends or find family and just be like, hey, I brought scones, or I brought cookies, here you go. So I'll probably end up doing that again. So far pretty easy. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some cold butter, which I already cubed and then put back in the fridge to stay cold. And we are going to work that into our mixture with a fork until it resembles, the recipe said it shouldn't be like a coarse meal, so I get the sense that like it should be pretty well incorporated, no clumps. I think what the recipe said with the cold butter is keeping it cold keeps it from melting down and helps kind of with your finished texture. So we'll see if that works, but we are going to take a fork. You could also use, I think they said you could use 2 knives or like a pastry knife, I think is what it's called. But we're going to, we're gonna mix that into our mixture with a fork. I tried. I don't know how well that turned out. It was actually really hard to get the cold butter to incorporate with the flour. I think if you're gonna make this, use a lot smaller chunks than I did. Yeah, I switched a couple times from using a fork to using 2 knives. And I think I got it incorporated okay. I'm not gonna say I got it incorporated well, it's okay. So if something goes wrong, it's probably this step. But we're gonna move on to our add-ins. So I have this triple berry blend. It has blueberries, blackberries, and red raspberries. So I'm gonna add that and these white chocolate chips. From what I remember, that was pretty close to the scones that I had in Scotland. So we're gonna see how this goes. Here is what our scones are looking like so far. Got the dry mixture pretty packed full of mix-ins, but I just wanted them to be super full of berries and white chocolate and all that good stuff. Now we're gonna put the dry ingredients aside and we're gonna work on the wet ingredients. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, so we've got cold buttermilk, which again, we're using cold, we're using this ingredient cold to improve the texture of the scones. And then we're gonna use some vanilla and an egg. We're gonna whisk that together separately and then add that into our dry ingredients. I just whisked the ingredients together until everything was incorporated, and now we're going to slowly mix it into our dry ingredients. Now the recipe says to make sure to just add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients until they are incorporated. No need to keep mixing them to a certain consistency. We're just trying to make sure that the dough is moist and ready for us to form them into scones.
One, two, three, go!
We are getting super messy up in here. So I ended up using my hands to do a little bit of the mixing of the dough, just because I was having a hard time getting a spatula to do that. And now I have floured hands and a very floured surface. If it's too much flour, I apologize. Again, I'm new to this. But we're going to go ahead and dump our dough out. Oh no. See, now I'm realizing why there might be a problem with having this many berries. But we are going to knead the dough just lightly enough to get it into a ball that we can cut into our actual scones. So we'll see how this goes. Again, I may have overdone it with the berries, but I think it'll be okay. My hands are bright red. The dough is bright red. I don't know how people do this and don't get like berry juice everywhere. I was afraid initially that I'd added too many add-ins and that they were not going to turn out, but I think they're going to be okay. I don't know. I think they'll taste good regardless, but I'm going to go ahead and cut the dough into 8 pieces. And then from there, what we're gonna do is take these 8 pieces and put them on our cookie sheet. And we're going to actually put them in the fridge for 20 minutes to let them rise and let them get fluffy and let all the ingredients get activated. And then from there, we'll bake them and hopefully have scones.
One, two, three, go!
I set a timer for 20 minutes. I'm gonna preheat my oven to 400 degrees. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm worried. I think that I may have added too many berries in my quest for a packed scone. And I think I may have messed up the dough. I don't know, they were very sticky. They didn't seem like they wanted to hold together very well. I don't know what to expect in scone dough because I've never made scones before. But I'm worried, y'all. I'm kind of worried. I know I was worried. I take it back. I'm very excited. I think they actually rose in the fridge, which, duh, that's kind of the point. But I was worried they wouldn't. I was worried I messed up the consistency or messed up the butter, but they actually look really good. I kind of love how pink they are. I kind of love how like stuffed full of yummy things they are. So I'm actually really excited. But now we're going to brush them with a little bit more buttermilk just on top, and then we're gonna pop them in the oven for 20 minutes and then we're done. I'm excited. I think they're actually gonna turn out well. I don't know, I'm optimistic. I believe in myself. Quick update. I'm sitting here waiting for the scones to bake and they are smelling so good. So I'm getting very, very optimistic these are going to turn out well. Even if they don't look the prettiest, I think they're gonna taste really good, and that is good enough for me. Hi, Dixie. Hey, puppy. You tired? You had a hard day so far of doing nothing? Just sleeping on couches? You poor puppy. We have scones, everybody. They look messy, admittedly, but I think they look really good. I don't know. I kind of like a rustic scone, and these are kind of cute. Like, I kind of like how the berries dyed the batter. I kind of like how they are so full of white chocolate chips. I don't know. Maybe they're not the prettiest, but I really like them. So here's a good close-up for you. They're still a little bit crumbly. I do think that all of the berry juice kind of changed the texture a little bit, but I'm honestly not mad at it. I'm really not. Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. They look like they cooked really well. They look tasty. At the end of the day, I'm here to make tasty food and not always the most like aesthetically pleasing food. So we're gonna give this guy over here a try. One quick note while I'm showing you this. Here we go. So I did not grease my baking sheet before I put the dough on it, and that was a mistake. Especially if you're using berries. You can see on the bottom I had to kind of rip some stuff off. If you're using berries especially, I think that these scones get pretty sticky. So they definitely stuck to the aluminum foil a lot. I had to kind of rip some bottoms off. So if you're making these at home, just grease them before you put the batter on. But I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a try. Okay, this looks really good. Let me show you what the inside looks like. Look at that! I know I probably put too much stuff in these scones, but I kind of don't care, because to me, this looks like it's gonna taste amazing, and I bet it is gonna taste amazing. This is so good, guys. Wow. I don't even care. I don't even care how they look. These are so good. If you're going for a very crispy scone, I would probably only use a cup of berries, and I would cook them like an extra 10 minutes. But for me, and for what I wanted, like, this is perfect. Here's how I see it. You can live your life one of two ways. You can live it trying to make everything you do look good, or you can try and make it actually be good. And you know what? If I'm gonna make food that doesn't always look the prettiest, but tastes amazing, I'm gonna go for that every single freaking time. I've gotta say, even if there's too many berries and chocolate chips for most people, the flavor combination is really good, which I kind of knew it would be since I'm trying to imitate a scone I've already had. But for any of y'all wondering, having those tart berries in there with kind of the lighter, sweeter white chocolate flavor is really, really good. Yeah, it's not too sweet either, which I know sometimes with baked goods, like, you know, they can get really, really sweet and really, really sugary. This scone recipe in general is not super sugary, so it kind of lends well to whatever you want to add to it. And having berries that are a little bit more on the tart side really balances out that white chocolate in an awesome, awesome way. That does it for this video. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you want to make your own variation of these scones or try out my recipe, again, you can find all the steps, all the measurements, everything you need in the description below. All of that will be posted on my blog. But until next time, I'll see ya.